My 27M boyfriend, who swore he loved me, suddenly says, "I don't know if I love you." Despite me covering rent and bills, he insists he's the provider, yet his savings are for a solo trip to Japan. Should I fight to salvage a sinking ship or let it sink? So as the title indicates, my relationship is coming to an end, and my partner is being quite confusing about it. I am writing this in part to organize my thoughts, but also to determine if this situation is worth fighting for. I feel that it is, but I am a passionate person who despises leaving things unfinished, therefore I may not be thinking rationally. I hope this does not violate the rule against yes-no questions, I just struggle to articulate it better. There will be extensive context provided here, so I apologize in advance. I need clarity on this complicated situation. Summary of context: I earn significantly less money than he does. Despite that, I cover most of our expenses, yet he still believes he is the provider. Summary of the situation: my boyfriend wants to end our relationship citing financial problems, but I suspect he is actually afraid of commitment. I am uncertain whether I should continue to invest my efforts. Context: we met 5 years ago on Tinder with the intention of being friends with benefits at first. About a year later, we transitioned into a committed relationship. There was an initial attempt before that time, but he needed space to think about whether this was what he truly wanted, a pattern that has repeated itself. He moved in with me after a significant argument with his parents. During the first year, he was the only one working while I was studying full-time. He was studying part-time. After that year, we relocated to a better apartment. I began working, and I started receiving financial assistance for rent from my uncle. I am fortunate to come from a family that helps without any strings attached, or, in this case, with strings that align with my own ambitions. As a contemporary artist, I come from a family with a long tradition of artistic careers. They are highly invested in this, and so am I. My uncle is willing to support me as long as I actively pursue my artistic career. They expect me to succeed. My partner is a programmer, and his family's values differ significantly from mine. While I can't pinpoint exactly how much of his issues with me arise from his father's outlook on life versus his own philosophy, I believe they are intertwined. He is primarily focused on financial matters, seeking a work-life balance that allows him to work as little as possible while still earning a considerable income. Currently, he makes 3 times what I do, including assistance from my family. Despite this, I have been the sole provider for rent and the majority of our grocery expenses for 3 years. He contributes to groceries and pays for luxuries such as takeout. I've justified this arrangement as fair because I would need to pay rent regardless, so I might as well help him save money, as my saving potential is limited. Financial issues. I mention all this because finances have been a recurring point of contention. He was deeply traumatized by that first year as the sole provider, which was incredibly stressful for him, and I did not contribute consistently. It appears he is unable to forgive me for that year. He often brings it up, even though he has not paid any rent for over 3 years. He was also convinced, and even managed to convince me, that he was the one supporting us, despite my paying for our rent and food during that time. He believed this because he was overwhelmed by his toxic job, which he was afraid to leave, and because he was overspending on takeout. I did not tightly monitor that money, trusting his budgeting skills since he is mathematically inclined. He blamed me, and I believe he still does, for remaining too long in that toxic workplace because he was anxious that, without his contribution, we would not manage. I covered the full rent and half of our food costs. The surprising twist is that he wasn't saving for our survival in case he had to quit his job before securing another position. Instead, he was saving for a trip to Japan. We live in Europe, and the cheapest tickets cost more than our monthly rent. Once the job became unbearable, he quit, and I supported us. His contributions during that time were 1/8 compared to what I provided. I accepted this, even though I felt frustrated that he would be traveling to Japan without me while I was covering nearly all our expenses. Now he has found a job that pays him nearly double his previous salary, contributing about 1/3 of our monthly budget. In 1 month, he contributed almost as much as I do each month. I was defending my master's thesis and needed funds for prints of my photographs. He paid for them, and I reimbursed him the following month. The rest was required due to my work as a teacher, where September is typically a lean month for me. However, I still covered the rent. I cannot count how many times my September expenses have been used against me as proof that he contributed equally to our budget. The main arguments were regarding that September and the fact that he overextended the takeout budget. Takeout food and other non-essentials were the only expenses he covered entirely, and I trusted him to be reasonable with that. I was also willing to limit our spending anytime, but he would reassure me it was acceptable. It turned out he wasn't being reasonable with that. I should have monitored his spending and restricted myself to a budget I was unaware of, which he did not want to establish because he quoted, "I don't want to say no to you." How does one navigate such a situation? I feel resentful about this circumstance. Of course, I could have desired less, but he consistently assured me that it was fine. I merely wanted to trust him to manage this without it being my concern and to find some peace. Now, this is the more understandable part of our issues. The concerns over mental load and financial fairness can be resolved gradually. The remaining issues can be categorized as financial issues I do not agree with, a complete emotional mess, financial issues I do not agree with. I have outlined our financial situation roughly. He earns 3 times what I do, including family assistance, yet his contributions to our shared life are less effective as he saves for a future home, vacations, etc. I will outline the issues, not as a means to vent, but to illustrate the problems we are facing. He fails to recognize how much time and money he saves by my covering our rent and managing the household. Every time we discuss his savings, they are framed solely as his, not ours. His savings for his future home or gifts for me do not take into account my contributions. I had to spend an entire evening calculating to demonstrate that the laptop he bought me for Christmas was actually funded by my contributions to his savings. He cannot seem to relinquish the idea that he is the one supporting us. At most, during the most generous times, he contributes 1/3 of our budget. He continues to dwell on that first year. I recognize it was incredibly challenging for him, but I believe I have done my penance. I have been paying higher rent for 3 years, for goodness sake. He claims that if I earned more and worked more hours, he would take on additional household responsibilities. But I do not think he comprehends just how much time daily chores require, not just on selected weekends. I have agreed to take on more chores because I work fewer hours, but what difference would it make if I made more money and contributed equally? He equates his payments for takeout to my paying rent. There are 2 points here. 1, even during the most exorbitant months, his contribution was less than my rent, and 2, it is not the same responsibility. We can always eat instant ramen or eggs on days when I am too busy, tired, or overwhelmed to cook, but we cannot forego paying our water bill. Reasons that make me feel financially insecure. There are 2 specific things he has said that leave me uncertain about their truth. I have my counterarguments, but please consider them honestly and advise me if I am being selfish, lazy, or unjust. The subreddit forbids moral judgments, and that's not what I am seeking. I need a reality check. The issues are: I do not contribute to our future. Well, yes, in our current situation, I cannot save money or establish credit. He states, and I quote, "You only maintain the status quo, you do not attempt to improve it." I suppose there is some truth to this. We are living in a place I can afford alone. If we split rent equally, we could reside in a much larger or better located place. I could earn more money, and I am actively working on overcoming my anxieties about finding a new job. Still, he seems to expect me to fully support us, while simultaneously providing us with a better living situation all on my own. It is my uncle who is financially supporting us, not me, and therefore I am not dependable. This notion stings the most. I do not know if it resonates because it is true, or if my self-esteem is low enough that it simply hits harder. He holds the belief that family assists only when there are strings attached and that you should always be entirely self-sufficient. If not, then something could happen to your family and you will be unprepared on your own. This fails to acknowledge that something could happen to you and you could find yourself in the same situation without safety nets. I believe we should appreciate the help we have. I still contribute to our food costs and work on my art, which is why my uncle supports me. It is not solely to allow me to live peacefully, but to uphold our family's artistic legacy. However, I am uncertain if this is appreciated. The money is there and it comes from me. He need not worry about it. I have discussed these issues with my friends and father in search of advice. Thus far, everyone is as bewildered as I am regarding why this is problematic. It is evident that we are not experiencing real financial difficulties. He earns so much money that in 2 years he will have enough for a down payment on a mortgage, while most young people can only dream of owning their own property. As I support us in the meantime, we are capable of affording food, minor trips, takeouts, and other expenses. He even flew to Japan. I cannot comprehend why he harbors resentment regarding my financial support while he works a typical 9 to 5. Does this make sense? Am I missing something obvious? Am I genuinely being unreasonable and unjust by asking him to accept that I am only supported so that I do not have to work excessive hours? Emotional mess. He appears to be searching for a way out of our relationship, and this has led to a series of inconsistencies, some of which are finally not related to finances. For the past 4 years, he has repeatedly expressed his love for me, stating that, If we could bypass societal expectations, he might even marry me, etc. He has shown me many loving gestures. While it is easy to see him only through the lens of our problems, he has also been warm and caring. Many of his displays of care manifest in purchasing gifts, which is the least demanding expression of affection he can manage. However, last year he began putting in more effort. He created a mini Dungeons & Dragons campaign for my birthday, culminating in the storyline of several characters I had previously played at his game. He takes this hobby seriously and puts in tremendous effort into it. He is an exceptional game master. It was an enormous undertaking. Last Christmas, he bought me a camera I had been saving for slowly. This was not a cheap gift, and it is not akin to buying a dinner or purchasing train tickets for a weekend by the seaside. That is not something you give to a mere friend. Yet he claims he does not know if he loves me. Apparently, he has never known for certain, but chose to ignore it until now. He made this choice around the time he had a monumental fight with his parents and moved in with me. He performs acts that indicate love, but then he expresses sentiments that convey indifference, if not animosity. He has provided numerous reasons for why we should end our relationship. The most logical reasons pertain to our financial situation, which is why I shared such detailed context. However, even those reasons do not fully hold together. Thus, I require perspectives that extend beyond my friends or therapist to help me understand. He talks about building a future and supporting both of us, yet he entirely overlooks the emotional dimension of our relationship. He does not act as if he feels that way, but he speaks as if our relationship is a company to manage. The fact that I provide comfort and love seems more like an obstacle. He literally stated that my expressions of love diminished his motivation to exercise and lose weight. He does not believe that my happiness and fulfillment contribute positively to our relationship. But there are additional problems as well. During that fateful trip to Japan, he developed a crush on a girl traveling with him and his friends, which caused an emotional crisis. He confessed to me about it. While I felt sad, I was not angry. We have an open relationship to some extent where a threesome is acceptable, but I have often stated that I do not wish for us to have separate partners. I want us to be together, and I do not mind there being extra people if they are with us. He, however, did not want to cease contact with her. Before long, he began pleading for a fully open relationship and even became angry when I refused. The situation resolved only when she told him that it would never happen. He had no interest in a threesome. He desired a side relationship after years of a particular set of rules. Following that, an incident with his father occurred, and between that situation and our circumstances, he moved back home. I will not delve into the details of that incident, but his relocation was unnecessary. He claimed it was to support his family, yet he barely communicated with his mother during the first 2 months. His father is perfectly fine and healthy, by the way. After that, things continued to deteriorate. He became anxious and depressed and began taking a high dosage of antidepressants. He stated he did not even wish to play Dungeons & Dragons or see his friends, describing spending time with me as a chore. It was during this period that he began articulating reasons for why we should terminate our relationship. Besides the financial issues, he raised concerns such as "you're more radical politically," or "what if in 20 years I want to have children?" Or "what if I develop another crush and begin questioning everything again?" And other hypothetical scenarios, as if we cannot work on such issues gradually instead of waiting for another crisis. Well, perhaps aside from the children issue, which feels like quite a stretch since children annoy him considerably. He has been stating many hurtful and unloving things, and intertwining them with real issues to intensify their impact. When asked how he feels about me after hours of evasion, he revealed that he feels the same way as he did before his trip to Japan. His crush has passed, and he seems settled on that aspect, yet he still wants to end our relationship due to reasons that fall apart upon closer examination. He does not appear to be grieving the end of our relationship. However, when we said our goodbyes before cutting off contact for a month for my mental health, as this situation has been emotionally draining, he cried. I simply do not comprehend. He feels the same way he did when he claimed to love me, yet he is unsure if he loves me or not. He desires to end things over reasons that are not fundamentally problematic or are easily resolvable. He disclosed that he struggles with forming relationships. Before me, he was involved in a very toxic situationship. The incident with the girl on the trip was also rushed and strange. Our relationship began slowly and safely, albeit under unconventional circumstances. I view it as two possibilities. He has been deceiving me for the past 4 years, using me as an escape from his home, remaining out of habit, only to begin acting erratically while making an effort purchasing expensive gifts, all while stating he does not actually love me. He has an anxious avoidant attachment style and has become apprehensive at the mere thought of alternative possibilities. My question, I suppose, is, am I evaluating this correctly? Is there anything besides years of therapy that I could do to assist him in addressing his attachment style? He is exceedingly slow in engaging in self-analysis, and it typically takes him an agonizingly long time to arrive at any genuine conclusions. Story 2. Stuck in a relationship with my boyfriend, 32M, who responds to my passions with a simple very well. I ponder, am I self-sabotaging? I feel like I'm shrinking, I say, yet he's been my steady anchor. Can I break free from this cycle of solitude before it suffocates me? TLDR again, speak with your partner who knows you best instead of soliciting advice from people on Reddit on how to live your life. You know yourself the best. I replied to several comments. I read through all the remarks stating you are absolutely incompatible, leave him, and you do not like him, and I realized those statements are untrue, although my post may have suggested that idea. It is not that we do not communicate. I've always disliked phone calls, yet with him we sometimes talk for 6 hours straight. It's not that we do not enjoy ourselves. It is more that we are both experiencing depression and come from families that never exposed us to life beyond our homes. I also recognized that I was seeking validation from others, which is precisely the issue. I rarely connect with others because I often feel misunderstood. This is exactly what occurred. As I read through the comments, I realized something crucial. I failed to grasp your perspective entirely. I thought, hey, no, that is definitely not how I feel. That is certainly not how I would address this situation. I felt profoundly misunderstood. Then it clicked. This is precisely why I am with my boyfriend. He comprehends me and I understand him. We are aware of each other's fears and struggles, and will do everything in our power to resolve any conflicts and issues that cause us unhappiness. I have lived for 30 years and have never encountered anyone more compatible. And God knows I have tried. Deep down, I understand I may not be in the best place right now, but I am true to myself. Only I know what I value and how essential it is for me to spend time both alone and together while pursuing my individual interests. He feels the same way. I often get carried away with thoughts like, oh my gosh, I want to party, or oh my gosh, I want to travel the world, but those feelings last for an hour and then I revert to my usual self. However, I often judge my entire life based on those brief moments. I can be myself with my boyfriend. I can pursue whatever I want and he will always support me. It is just that I am uncertain how to open up because I internally panic. I would like to dance when he is around, but I am too shy. I have always been this way. I am open around people I do not know well and incredibly shy around my loved ones. Showing them my art, never my writing, just the thought of it makes me shiver. Singing, God forbid. I would love to share all of that and my loved ones would never judge or laugh at me, but I am terrified of revealing my true self. Even while watching a movie with my family, if there is a sad moment, I hold back my tears and then make a joke to convey, look, I do not get emotional. I just need to focus on my mental health so I can actually engage in activities instead of merely imagining myself doing them. The reality is that I am not particularly happy in my relationship because I am not happy in general. I feel stuck, get depressed, and cannot accomplish anything. I must address that I am awaiting an appointment instead of blaming others. My boyfriend has always been there for me even when I pushed him away due to fear. He does have strong preferences, but he is willing to work on them and acknowledges that they present challenges. I am not seeking someone merely to do things with. The most important aspect of a relationship for me is the understanding that is rare, and I have only found it once with my boyfriend. It does not matter whether we like the same music or not. I would love for him to enjoy it, but there is that 80-20 rule or whatever they say. My boyfriend does not fulfill all my needs, nor would anyone else. However, I would much rather be with someone with whom I have a connection and attempt to share my hobbies rather than being with someone with whom I share interests, but fail to connect on a deeper level. After experiencing such discomfort, distance, and spiraling, I called him to express my fears and how anxious the entire situation made me feel. I recounted how I had gone through the comments and realized that I was asking random people for guidance on what I should do instead of speaking to the person directly involved. I told him that I needed more music and suggested I create a playlist for him with a note explaining how each song makes me feel. It feels like a project and I love projects. That is one way I can feel fulfilled, by sharing my world in a manner that is comfortable for me. We also planned a weekend together and a trip for next weekend. We have begun having deeper conversations, which he typically avoided because they often make him feel more anxious. In fact, I find that deep conversations tend to make me anxious as well. Even the music I love frequently induces anxiety because it evokes that otherworldly, euphoric feeling that is addictive but leads to feelings of emptiness afterward. He provides me with stability as he consistently tries to lighten the mood with his humor, despite his own anxiety. I tend to overthink, and those thoughts spiral into obsessive rumination. It is likely why I wrote that post. I do come across as miserable, bitter, and unstable. I am not like that all the time. I feel that way when I start spiraling, and regrettably many things trigger those states. I fear intimacy, push people away, tell my boyfriend I want to be alone over the weekend, and then spiral because we do not meet often enough. My greatest challenge is myself. I spiral, I focus on flaws, and I self-sabotage. At times, I am my own worst enemy. I only see the negative and start imagining an ideal life in my mind. Ultimately, I am responsible for the condition of my life, not my boyfriend. I am the one who has been depressed and anxious for years without seeking help. I am the one who always wants to do things but never follows through. I am the one who desires effort but rarely makes any in actually pursuing activities. It appears that I seek someone to motivate me to genuinely live, and it is up to me. I 30F need to engage in deeper conversations. I want to laugh and tease. I want to listen to music together, try various activities, and explore a little. While he 32M is autistic and diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, his entire life revolves around minimizing anxiety. I love music, walking, and dancing immensely. He does not even know what music I enjoy because he is not interested in it, and that ends the discussion. If we wish to watch something together, it must be a horror movie, slasher, or thriller without supernatural, ghost, or fantasy themes, because he dislikes them and will not watch them. It is challenging to discuss topics beyond ordinary daily matters. I have attempted to share my passions regarding music and lyrics, but his only response when I try to open up about my world is very well. There are no questions, no interest, and no curiosity. Very well is his response to everything. Simultaneously, we do reminisce and share stories from our childhoods. He possesses a safe kindness that I have always sought. We have never traveled anywhere, not a single trip or even a road trip. We talked about trying urban exploration, but it has never come to fruition. I am not naturally a traveler, but the thought that if I wanted to go somewhere, I would likely have to go alone because he does not have the desire feels disheartening. Yet I would love the opportunity to travel, but I already do everything by myself. We live 60 kilometers apart, he has a car, and there is a bus to his town, yet we only see each other every other week. Initially, we would meet every weekend from Friday evening to Monday morning, but it seems he does not even need me there. I feel as if I do not require his presence either. Just the mere thought of meeting him makes me feel uneasy. I have been struggling with this for months now. We first met almost exactly a year ago and began dating in June. I initially believed it was relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder (ROCD), and I still think that plays a role, but I just feel hopeless. I feel there is no energy between us, no chemistry or sparks, if you will. To be honest, I am not pursuing it. I have spent my entire life daydreaming about love and convinced myself that I have set unreasonable standards. However, I cannot accept the possibility of this being my life until I die. Each time I hear very well when I attempt to connect, something inside me dies. It may also be linked to his stimming. On the positive side, he is reliable, faithful, and trustworthy. We share the same values, and he is as much of an alien as I am, but I feel unfulfilled and trapped because he has never ventured into my world. I am not an angel either. I experience depression frequently, cry a lot, and overall I am a lot to handle, yet I feel as though I am diminishing just so he can comprehend me. The things I would like to share are compressed into a single sentence so he can process and respond with one sentence as well. Still, I struggle with intimacy. I have always found it challenging. I enjoy sex, cuddling, and all of that, but I often find it paralyzing. My boyfriend wants to hug or kiss me, and I cannot move or speak. I grew up in an autistic family that feared everything. My mother is a kind angel who never truly lived her life. My brother is autistic and rarely leaves the house, and my sister has borderline personality disorder. My father likely had autism as well but passed away when I was 6. I believed I found comfort with my boyfriend after a toxic relationship with my ex. Now I realize I am repeating patterns from home doing nothing, never trying anything, and never leaving the house. There is care, but there is also stagnation that is consuming me. It is not that he does not want to change, he has his limitations just as I have mine. We both grew up feeling lonely and never learned how to engage in activities with others. I have no friends for that matter. I do not think I even possess the mental capacity for friendships. I do not know how to connect. I have always felt as though I am behind a wall. People appear so different from me that it almost frightens me. The only individuals I feel comfortable with in terms of familiarity are my mother and my boyfriend. I also spend most of my time alone and I am quite okay with being alone. That is my default state and my boyfriend is the same. However, I desire more. I can accomplish everything on my own, yes, but then what is the point of being in a relationship? Even if I were to engage in the most fulfilling activities with friends, what is the purpose of a relationship? I am extremely talkative, open, and fairly charismatic at work. I am a teacher, but that does not translate well to my personal life. At work, I am acting. I have this teacher persona that connects well with people. Sometimes I wish I could be that way all the time, but it requires so much energy and I do not have it. Additionally, I exist on the asexual aromantic spectrum, and relationships in general are difficult for me. I have never comprehended the passion people speak of or someone being attractive in that way. The only factor for me is a face I find handsome, and my boyfriend matches that description to some extent. I have never liked anyone, it is just that I am not typically attracted to people in general. My boyfriend maintains good hygiene and does not have facial hair. You may think it is trivial, but I spent 29 years single because initially I was completely uninterested. Then as an adult, most men had facial hair, which is a deal breaker for me. Perhaps it is an autistic trait, I do not know, but I cannot even be friends with someone I do not find attractive in some way. It does not have to be about conventional beauty, but they need to be my type or seem familiar. It is frustrating, but I have felt this way since childhood. The only time I truly felt in love was with an extremely abusive and toxic ex-boyfriend with borderline personality disorder who fit my type. We shared no values or interests, and he restricted me from doing anything independently. Back then, I convinced myself it was love. I do not know how to let go or if I should let go. Perhaps I am subconsciously angry at my boyfriend for the fact that I cannot be who I want to be. There is an imaginary version of me I can never become, and this imagined self wants to travel, experience the world, and try new things. The real me seems to lack the life energy to pursue any of that. Maybe I am self-sabotaging and attempting to push away the best person I have ever met. Or perhaps I need someone with the vitality to push me toward becoming the person I want to be. Maybe I should simply find friends to share my passions with, though I have no idea how. Perhaps there is a balance. I am a chronic overthinker, worrying about hypothetical situations while he is practically minded but worries about real-world issues. I am constantly daydreaming while he is pragmatic. Maybe I want him to meet all my needs because I lack anyone else, and that is simply impossible. I do not know, I feel stuck. Please give me some clarity. TLDR, I feel lonely and unfulfilled with my boyfriend, but I have always felt this way. I am not sure if I am the cause of the issue or if he is not the right person for me. Story 3. At nearly 25, I'm still trapped in the home of my abuser, my mother's husband. What are you talking about? She dismissed my cries. I've learned to smile while dying inside as my family pretends nothing's wrong. But I'm left wondering, why did I stay? I need someone to hear me. This is my story. I do not even know where to begin. But what I do know is that I have been carrying much more than any human being should ever have to. It all started when I was 8 years old. I grew up without a father, but honestly, I never felt like anything was missing. My mother gave me a lot of love. She was affectionate and attentive. She spoiled me. We had our little bubble, just the two of us, and it was enough for me. I was an only child, and I was happy that way. Then one day, she met someone. Very quickly, she married him. That man became, to this day, the person I hate most in this world. I remember the first time she introduced him to me. I felt this overwhelming sense of anxiety, almost like a physical reaction. Something felt wrong. I was so young, but I told my mother I did not want her to marry him, that I did not want him to come into our lives. But she was afraid of being alone, and now I understand she was just trying to fill a void. But at what cost? When he moved in, I immediately felt uncomfortable. The atmosphere in the house changed. It was heavy and strange. I was cautious, but my mother seemed happy, so I remained silent. The problem is that she trusted him too quickly, way too quickly, and that is when everything began to fall apart. Whenever she left the house to go to work, she would leave me alone with him. Little by little, he changed. He became more intrusive. He crossed lines that no adult should ever cross with a child. At first, I did not understand. I was too young. My innocence kept me from seeing the danger, but it became repetitive. He started coming into my room at night. It became a twisted routine. I began experiencing anxiety attacks. I was scared. I isolated myself, but I still tried to live like a normal little girl. I think I was in denial, or maybe my mind was protecting me. Still, one question kept coming back: why me? My mother noticed nothing. He did everything behind her back, using every small opportunity when she was showering, in the kitchen, or using the bathroom to reach me. And each time I felt like I was leaving my body, disconnecting. One day, I do not know why, I chose to speak up. I approached my mother and told her what he was doing. I stated it clearly: he touched me. She looked at me shocked, and all she said was, "What are you talking about?" I remember that moment so clearly. She told me to take the trash out, and before I left, I said, "If you tell him I said that, I will throw myself under a car." That was me begging her to believe me, to listen, to protect me. When I returned, she called us both into the living room. My heart was racing. He denied everything, of course. He said he was just saying good night and stroked my back. My mother believed him. I ran to my room, unable to even look up. And the worst part, he did it again that same night. He knew she would never believe me. From that point on, it felt like she had chosen her side and it was not mine. I will not go into every detail of the years that followed, but it continued. I was trapped. Meanwhile, my relationship with my mother turned into constant conflict. My stepfather did everything he could to turn us against each other, and it worked. My mother became violent, not just slaps, real violence. She strangled me, burned me, locked me up, and bit me. I still carry the marks and many invisible scars, too. In my early teens, around 14 or 15, I broke down. He was going too far. One day, I was talking to my aunt about nothing in particular, and suddenly I burst into tears and told her everything. She was shocked. And I finally thought, this is it, things will change now. I told my aunt, then my mother, then other relatives. I was convinced that this time it would finally be over, that he would be kicked out, that justice would be served. In the meantime, my mother had children with him. I have 4 younger brothers, they still do not know anything. I have never told them. But even after everything, nothing changed. My mother was angry not at him but at me. She was mad at him for a moment. Then she brought him back into the house a few days later. She did not want anyone to know. She was angry that I told the family, that I exposed her secret. So I stayed, living under the same roof as him, sleeping in fear, waking up anxious, feeling sick. I began experiencing full-body eczema. I felt like I was suffocating. And I kept asking myself, how can a mother choose to remain with a man who hurt her daughter like that? I could have run away, I could have hurt myself, I could have exposed everything publicly, but I did not. And even now I feel like what I endured does not matter, like no one cares. He stopped touching me, but he kept opening my bedroom door at night trying to see what I was wearing. I ended up putting a lock on my door. I told my mother and once again she did nothing but mildly scold him. That was it. Today I am nearly 25, I still live in that house. And I know some people might ask, why are you still there, why have you not left? Because I have been at rock bottom for so long. I have spent years in deep depression. Even basic things like working, saving money, or planning a future, I cannot do it. Everything feels overwhelming. I feel stuck, frozen in time. Sometimes I wonder if I am trying to forget, or if I have just learned to survive. Because when people see me now, no one could imagine what I have been through. I smile. I pretend everything is fine, but inside I am dying. I became hypersexualized. I turned into the worst version of myself with no self-love, no sense of dignity. I feel like I only deserve the bare minimum. Even now, I still live in that house, with him, with her, with my brothers. And everyone acts like nothing ever happened. My family, who knows everything, still talks to him, shakes his hand. And I am here pretending to be okay. Sometimes I sit still like I am now writing this and everything hits me all at once. And I want to explode. I feel a rage I cannot even express. A pain I wish people could see, if only you could see through me. My mother still criticizes me. She says I am not the daughter she dreamed of, that I do not help at home, that I always isolate myself in my room. And all I can think is, how dare she after everything she allowed to happen? And yet I stayed, out of respect, out of fear, to avoid making waves. I kept quiet to protect her. I never ran away. I did not report it. I buried it. And then, as I grew older and began to understand the gravity of what I had endured, when I started thinking more clearly, I began doing certain things as my own way of seeking revenge. I was still young, but I was in deep distress. I tried to get at him in subtle, malicious ways. I would spit in his food, put chemicals in his drinks. I used his toothbrush to clean mold. I even put it in the toilet. It was not random. It was my way of trying to take back some control. I was alone. No one listened. No one saw my pain, so I tried to defend myself in the only ways I knew how. Because no one ever really protected me.